Hello, everyone, and welcome to another Premier Injuries Daily Roundup. Where are we? I am clock watching because there is a press conference going on as we speak. Brendan Rodgers delayed due to his time on the training pitches. But for now, I'll give a quick roundup of today's press conferences from the managers that we've already heard from. From Southampton, Ralph Hasenhüttl said it was great to see Romeo Lavia back on the training pitches. That was his first session in full training since that hamstring problem. Now, his availability still cannot be guaranteed this weekend. However, they're waiting for clearance from the medical department to give the green light before he can join in the matchday squad. That's been a hamstring injury, and that's nothing unusual given the amount of time that he spent out in the treatment room. Elsewhere within that squad, there was better news from Bella Kocha. He dislocated his shoulder around about a month ago. He chose to go down that conservative route as opposed to surgery, which would have kept him out for several months. Responded really well. Again, hoping to be back in full training from next week, meaning game week 15 and a game against Newcastle isn't out the realms of possibility. Ainsley Maitland-Niles returns after missing the game against his parent club, Arsenal. And there's bad news with regards to Kyle Walker-Peters. It's probably or highly likely that the fullback will be out until after the World Cup. Only a very small chance of him being available for game week 16 against Liverpool. For the moment, at least, Lianco looks like the player locked in at right back. And out that only just leaves Tino Livramento as the only long-term absentee. Now, staying on the South Coast, we've heard from interim boss Gary O'Neill, and that was a mixed update. We'll start with the good news first. Dominic Solanke, worrisome injury on Monday night at West Ham, left the London Stadium with his ankle in a protective cast. Fortunately, that isn't as bad as initially feared, and he does have a chance of making the squad. Like I say, that'll depend on how and if he can train without any kind of reaction. Kiefer Moore would be the player to come in and lead the line. Now, I said it was a mixed update, and that's because goalkeeper Neto, unfortunately, suffered quite a serious hamstring problem. We've got an undefined period on the sidelines, so that certainly suggests it's going to be after the World Cup. Mark Travers will be coming in to replace the Brazilian, the 33-year-old Brazilian. Elsewhere within the Cherry squad, it's pretty much as you were with Lloyd Kelly, Angle and David Brooks out of contention for the moment. Now, I will have to check my list for Jess Marsh from Leeds, because Leeds, not only are they sitting bottom of that 6-game form table with just 1 point, really struggling, pressures mountain. Jess Marsh listed off a reel of players who are currently flagged as questionable or doubts heading into this weekend. So we know that Tyler Adams missed out last weekend because of a muscle problem. He remains a doubt. We can also add to that list Joe Kelhard, Rodriguez, Lunny Sinistera and Liam Cooper. All of those players will be assessed over the next 24 hours to determine their availability for this weekend. So it could be a much changed Leeds lineup. We already know that Stuart Dallas and Adam Forshaw, for example, are out. Dallas will hope to return in early 2023. Forshaw has an outside chance of playing before the break. We've also heard from Frank Lampard. Again, good news from down at Finch Farm. That is because Nathan Patterson is back in contention. He's available. He's been training with the first team, and that gives Frank Lampard a nice selection headache with Seamus Coleman, who's performed admirably in his absence. Now, Lampard went on to say that Seamus Coleman found his form and fitness and probably had his best performance of the season against Crystal Palace and Wilfried Zaha last time out. So that indicates to me that he's probably going to stick with the same 11 following that great result, a 3-0 win. At the opposite end of the pitch, we've seen Dominic Calvert-Lewin, maybe a surprise starter last time out. We've had loads of conversations with regards to his fitness and performing at optimum levels, but he was thrown in there. He got his goal, and to be fair, he looked fairly sharp. And at 0.4 ownership, as it currently stands, for a player who still thinks or still wants to push for Gareth Southgate's England squad, he mightn't be a bad differential pick. Everton have some nice fixtures coming up against teams, all of whom have conceded a lot of goals. Bournemouth, Leicester and Fulham, as well as Fulham have played this season. All three of those teams feature in the bottom 4 of goals against. So Dominic Calvert-Lewin might be a decent differential shout. Indeed, it's a player that I have. brought in this week. Now, elsewhere, we look to Europe. Last night, Liverpool went to Ajax, got themselves a decent 3-0 result. However, the result was slightly marred by an injury to Jordan Henderson. Thankfully, it doesn't look to be too serious. It's a knee-on-knee bang, very painful, probably just a bruise. So that should, hopefully, fingers crossed, make him available for this weekend. Of course, that holding midfield role becomes a little bit more complicated because Thiago Alcantara has missed the last two because of that ear infection. So Fabinho is the only one really experienced player who we could lock in there initially. Elsewhere, also for Chelsea, Graham Potter confirmed that Mateo Kovacic was struggling with a tight cough. We know this ongoing knee problem that he's had, since the preseason has hampered him. Now it's that cough issue, and it could be that he misses out this weekend, although Graham Potter does like to rotate heavily, has a lot of strength and depth within that department. Ruben Loftus-Cheek, Conor Gallagher, all options alongside Jorginho. Of course, N'Golo Kante is out for at least the next 3 months. Arsenal, they're playing the Europa League on Thursday night, so hopefully this will go before the kickoff. Mikel Arteta confirmed that McKenna did not travel with the squad due to illness, so he's out of contention. He also said that the rest of the squad are fine to face PSV. However, I think it's highly unlikely that that will include Zinchenko. We know that that cough problem still isn't training with the group, although he has stepped up his recovery and he has been increasing that intensity. And also, finally, Manchester City. Of course, a lot of the talk and the buzz is around whether Erling Haaland and João Cancelo will be fit for this weekend. Firstly, we'll address the issue with regards to that fever or that illness that contributed to their withdrawal in Dortmund on Tuesday night. Thankfully, both players have been pictured with the squad again. They're not isolating from the group. So that tells us that there are no real concerns with regards to that illness, that virus maybe spreading within the camp, first and foremost. Secondly, the foot problem for Erling Haaland. We have seen the player limping quite heavily. However, he wasn't wearing a protective boot, certainly hasn't been using any crutches. And so again, that's an indication that maybe we're just looking at a heavily bruised bang on that foot. And it could be that it might just be a case of pain management this weekend. Like I say, we've seen him actually in flip-flops, wasn't wearing footwear and was limping quite badly. But like I say, his desire to play, it could be that he may have a painkilling injection this weekend. The third consideration is obviously Pep referenced. He thought that Erling Haaland was looking a little bit fatigued. And we do forget the fact that he is new to the Premier League and he's still adapting to the rigors and the intensity and the physicality of the Premier League, which is fairly unique, and the characteristics that it presents to players. Now, again, all of those things considered, I do believe that Erling Haaland will be in the matchday squad. He may be managed by Pep Guardiola. So we'll just have to wait and see. Hopefully, he'll shed some light on Friday's press conference. And that's it for today. But just a quick reminder that we will be going live around about 2:15 on Friday. Myself and Jason McKenna will be going through all of the predicted lineups, covering all of the latest team news and providing all of the latest injury updates. So that's it for now. Hope you enjoyed. See you again very soon.